Hi, my name is Ted. I am a repair technician for Latte Love. I am showing you how to check the wire connections on a flow meter if your Brera, Gaggia Brera, is constantly asking you to ventilate, but you're getting water out the arm at a steady stream. And you'll have the little triangle and the cup symbol blinking, and then you'll run water out, the water comes out, but then the machine asks you to keep ventilating. Okay. And it could be possible that maybe a wire came disconnected from the flow meter, which regulates how much water is going through the system.
Okay, what do we got to do?
All right, so in order to do so, we're going to make sure, one, you have no beans in your hopper, vacuum them out, or whatever else, however you want to get them out. Literally, this one had beans in it, and I dumped them out. Okay. Make sure you have no water, empty your tray. You don't want to make a mess while you're doing this. It's not a huge task, but you just want to make it so it's neat and clean. All right, so the first thing that we need to do once you do all that is that we need to remove the finger guard so you don't chop up your fingers. And sometimes they might use a Phillips head. Most of the time they use what's called a T20 Torx bit. And then you can see this is the T20, and then you just need a T20 screwdriver long enough to be able to get down in there. Okay. You know, and then a Phillips if it's a Phillips. So we're just gonna unscrew that. And then when you pull it out, if you have a magnetic tip, make sure you just put your finger in front of the hole so the screw stays in there, and then I just
leave it in there. Yeah.
Wiggle it so it goes back down through the hole. Okay. And there's a brass bushing in there. I'm only pointing this out because we don't want to lose that brass bushing in case you set it upside down somewhere. It has to be in there or it'll kind of melt the plastic around there. Okay. As the grinder's spinning. After that, we only have to take these 3 screws out, and these are T10. And the screws underneath that we need to take out are also T10. So that's the only tool that you'll need is the T10, the T20, or the Phillips for that center screw in the bean hopper.
Okay, and it's important to remember where your grind setting is that?
Yes, I will, okay. Once I get the 3 screws out, I'll take a look to see where my grind setting is on the machine. So when I go to put the top back on the machine, we'll be able to make sure that's in this correct spot. And this one is on the last dot. Okay. Which is the finest setting. Right. Depending on what you have it on, just remember where it's at. Okay. And then after you get those 3 screws out, we can actually lift up on the back corner of the lid. And then we're just going to pull it this way as we lift up. Okay. Okay. And we can set that off to the side. Now, if you set it off to the side and the hopper kind of pops out because it sticks down further, that's fine. Just when you pick it up, make sure your knob is back in the correct spot. Okay. So now we need to remove 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. And they're all T10. Okay. And they're black screws instead of silver, so you'll know to put the black ones back here and not put the silver ones in here. I actually use the bean hopper lid as my tray holder when I'm working on the machines usually on these ones. So we're going to take these out. And all the screws are out now. Okay. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we got to remove these panels. And this one is just the door. Now that we have the top lifted up, we can actually pull up on the door and pull it out. It's got 4 little arms that go into 4 holes for pivoting.
Just pull it up and
pull it out. Okay. The back panel, you just got to lift up a little bit just so it's away from the bottom. And then you can pull on this corner over here away from the machine because you have these little knobs that are in the way over here, so you can't pull from this side. Okay. So when you pull from here, it'll just pivot right off. All right. And then the side panel, the only way I can explain this is you kind of pull back a little bit and yank.
Pull and yank.
Pull and yank.
Okay.
It's the easiest way to get it off. Now that we have all the panels off, you can see the inside of the machine. And where the flow meter is this little white cylinder down here with the 2 rubber lines going to it. Okay. And what you're going to want to look for is to see if this white connector is pushed down all the way onto the receiving part of the flow meter. Okay. Sometimes it might be up a little bit, sometimes it might be completely off, depending on what happened. You just want to make sure it's pushed down right onto that black receiving part that it plugs into. Okay. The other end of it, just to make sure, if you follow the wires up, it's this little 3-wire connection right here above this bigger one. And sometimes that might be out. and you just push it back in with your fingernail or a screwdriver or something like that. Just make sure it's pushed in all the way.
Okay.
And if either one of those were disconnected, that's probably what your problem was with the machine not letting you know it's out of ventilate.
Okay.
So now that you check those, we can put the machine back together and see how it's gonna work.
Okay.
So we'll put it back together real quick so I can show you how to do that. You see these little tabs all the way across the bottom. There's a groove all the way across the side here. You just wanna make sure this first tab lines up with the very edge up here in the front. Okay. So you're gonna line it up and you're gonna tilt it, and then it's gonna stick out a little bit right here. You're just gonna pull forward and let that fall back into place.
So you just pulled the front of the machine?
Yep, just enough to get the panel to pop in there.
Okay.
And that's already back on. Now the back one, you gotta come from this side, just like I took it off. You gotta come from this side, but you wanna make sure you're just at the right height. You don't want to be all the way down, you don't want to be way up. You have to be just a little bit above the base here.
Okay, like you have it right now?
Yep.
Okay.
And then once you have that in the correct spot, you see how I just swung it in there and locked this side in.
Okay.
Now that I have it locked in, I just push down.
And it pops into place.
And it pops into place down here.
Beautiful.
And then after that, you're just going to take your door, make sure you line your pins up inside, and then they'll fall down into the slots that they go into.
Okay.
And then you can close your door. And then after that, we're gonna take our top. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Get ahead of myself sometimes. But we gotta put our 4 screws back in.
Okay.
So just take your T10 and screw your 4 black screws back in.
You just bring those till they're snug or any?
Yeah, you don't wanna over tighten them. You just wanna go until they stop.
Okay.
Because these are screwing into plastic, if you over tighten them, you can actually strip the hole out, which isn't a great thing to do, but it's not going to ruin the machine, but you just want to prevent that from happening.
So you just don't need to go real hard on those.
Yeah.
Just till they're.
Just goes until it's
they're in.
like you feel resistance, like
No
right
extra
there, I
force.
just felt it, I just stopped.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll put this last one in. Resistance, stop. All right, now we can put the top on. Make sure your bean setting is where you had it before.
You're on that small one.
I'm on the small dot where I was before.
Okay.
And we're gonna put the front end first because there's this ridge that has to go underneath the front here.
Okay. So you got it kind of tilted.
Yeah, you gotta tilt it in,
Okay.
and then you can slowly go down, and as you go down, make sure your knob doesn't move because eventually it's going to go into the receiving part of the grinder. And once you get it, it'll fall right into place.
Okay.
Sometimes if people can't get it locked in at the front, and you'll have a little spot pop up in front here like this. That's fine. You can just, and it'll go right in.
Okay.
Okay. So now that we have everything in place, we just take the 3 screws, put the bean hopper screws back in, and again, just tighten until they stop. And one more. And now we're together. The only thing we have left to do is put the finger guard. This is why I left the screw and everything in there.
And you want to make sure that bushing is in there.
Yep. I mean, if you set it down upside down, it'll fall out. That's why I'm just pointing it out so it's still in there.
Just drop it back.
Yeah, so you got this big curved area instead of all these small ones, and that goes around the dosing area.
Sure.
Or the bypass. And you just set it back down on the auger and the grinder. And then you take your tool and you just screw that back down until it stops. And there you go.
And then from there, we give it a start up and see if it's operating properly?
Yep, you'll just turn it on and it'll ask you to ventilate. You open up your hot water knob and let it ventilate, and hopefully the message will go away and you'll be good to go.
All right, thank you so much for showing us. Take us
You're
through
very
that.
welcome.
Want to learn more? Subscribe now so you'll know about the latest videos on everything coffee from Whole Latte Love.